comes courtesy of our friends over at The View. When I say our friends over at The View, I mean the low IQ idiots who are on panel at The View. And yes, you are a complete stupid idiot. My God, she is so stupid. This is the same lady who thinks everything is racist. Everything and everyone is racist, except Hitler and the Holocaust. Genius, Whoopi Goldberg. Lifelong ambition to actually be a guest on The View. They'll never have me on, of course, because it would go horribly for them. But today,
the Holocaust isn't about race. No, it's not about race.
No, it's about
a different race. But it's not about race. It's not about race.
What is it about?
Because it's about man's inhumanity to man.
no!
That it's not about
ideal race.
But these are two white groups of people.
Ah! Not only is that the worst clip in the history of The View, that is the worst clip in the history of television. Like, all of television history. Whoopi Goldberg is obnoxious and stupid beyond all measure. The Holocaust was not about race. Ask the Nazis. The entire Holocaust was about race. All of it. Which is why they didn't just pick on Jews who observed Judaism. They picked on anyone who had quote-unquote Jewish blood. The entire thing was about race.
There's a reason why The View has become a magnet for controversy, and one man isn't afraid to call it out. From the outside, it looks like a daily talk show where women sit around discussing hot topics. But dig deeper, and you'll find something very different. One sharp-tongued critic has called it a roller coaster of nonsense, filled with wild opinions, bad facts, and loud voices pretending to speak for the rest of us. And at the heart of it all, a handful of co-hosts who keep proving, over and over again, that being loud doesn't mean being right. He's not just throwing shade, he's dismantling the entire show point by point.
Man's inhumanity to man. Nope! It is about a genocidal attempt to exterminate the Jews, which has a thousands-of-year-old history. And yes, it was rooted in race. And yes, you are a complete stupid idiot. My God, she is so stupid. This is the same lady who thinks everything is racist. Everything and everyone is racist, except Hitler and the Holocaust. Genius, Whoopi Goldberg.
Every Latino out of this country, then who is going to be cleaning your toilet, Donald Trump?
No.
In the sense that,
In a sense.
what I mean? Like, when I'm saying
There's more jobs to be
in LA, they always...
But they don't are not only the only people
I didn't mean it
doing
like that. Come on.
According to him, The View has turned into a stage for what he calls IQ-reducing television. And the biggest offender? One specific co-host who somehow manages to turn every trending topic into a viral train wreck. The way he sees it, these aren't just off-the-cuff mistakes, they're repeated blunders that would get anyone else canceled. Yet somehow, the show keeps going, day after day, with the same fiery takes and fact-free rants. And the worst part? Viewers keep tuning in. By the way, before we continued, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us grow and share more intriguing stories. Now, let's continue.
I love that she's trying to make an anti-Trump argument. She's like, I can say anything I want. And she's like, I'm going to say something super racist. They're all like, yeah. Well, apparently her hair was not her only bad decision that day.
Something comparing the U.S., Israel, Hamas, and the Taliban as all terrorist organizations. And she has maybe way more knowledge and experience in the very complicated Middle Eastern relations. But I did find that being on a foreign committee and comparing the country to a known terror, those are organized terrorist communities, that, not Israel, but Hamas and the Taliban.
Because things are about to get a lot messier when one particular host decides to rewrite history on national television. It all blew up when one of the show's most famous co-hosts opened her mouth about the Holocaust, and what came out left people stunned. On live TV, in front of millions, she claimed the Holocaust wasn't about race. Not a misunderstanding. Not a slip of the tongue, she doubled down, saying it was just an example of man's inhumanity to man. That single sentence sent shockwaves across the internet. People weren't just confused, they were furious. The Holocaust, a systematic genocide of 6 million Jews by the Nazis based entirely on race, being described like it was just some general human conflict?
That depends on who you talk to.
Right. Well, I mean, that's how they're recognized as terrorist organizations.
But it does depend on who you talk to.
Well, they're recognized in this country.
Depends on who you talk to. Whoopi, always available to sign in to both compare Israel and the United States to terrorist organizations and also compare terrorist organizations to apparently not terrorist organizations. Like, Hamas is not a terrorist organization?
It was more than tone deaf. It was dangerous. The reaction was swift and the backlash intense. And for those already skeptical of The View, it was the perfect example of why the show had become so frustrating to watch. One critic, especially, didn't hold back. He found it outrageous not just because of the historical inaccuracy, but because it revealed a deeper issue: the show's tendency to twist facts to fit a political narrative, no matter how insane it sounds. And let's not forget, this wasn't coming from someone with no connection to the topic. He's Jewish. He's spoken about anti-Semitism before.
Oh, man. It is amazing because Whoopi is sort of seen on this show as sort of the wise old sage. And I have to say, you need better sages.
You know, it's interesting that a lot of the English language has to be rethought. Blackmailing is negative, black sheep, negative. I can think of a few others if I had the time, but those words are kind of like embedded in our psyches and maybe need to be changed. Why is a black sheep a bad thing and a white sheep is a good thing? Why? They're just sheep.
Well, it's not the words. It's not the words, it's the way we think about it.
So when he heard someone with a massive platform rewrite the meaning of one of history's darkest moments, you can imagine his reaction. He called it exactly what it was: delusional. And he wasn't done. What made it worse wasn't just the shocking statement, it was how casually it was delivered. Like, history didn't matter. Like, facts were just optional. That's what really lit the fire. And if you thought the outrage was only about historical inaccuracy, think again. There was something personal, something visceral, about the way he responded. He didn't just call her "outh broke down" why the comment was not only wrong, but deeply offensive. Imagine being part of a group that was targeted, hunted, and slaughtered for their ethnicity, and then hearing someone on national television reduce all of that to a vague moral lecture about humans being mean to each other.
Right, you're right, Joy. Probably they started saying black sheep versus white sheep, not because of the commonality of the sheep, but because of black people in, like, rural Europe. Nailed it. Yeah, it's about what? African-American sheep. This is so stupid. It's about black male, like black people male in the...
That's not just ignorance, that's erasure. And he wasn't subtle about it. He questioned how someone so influential, so visible, could speak so carelessly about one of the worst atrocities in human history. He pointed out that downplaying genocide isn't just offensive, it's dangerous. Because when public figures distort reality like that, they open the door for others to deny, dismiss, or forget it entirely. He was angry, and rightfully so. Not just as someone with personal ties to the history, but as someone watching millions of people get fed a narrative that strips away truth for the sake of a headline. And yet, somehow, this was only the beginning of the madness.
I don't think that kids in this country are learning our history. They're not learning about slavery. They're not learning about Jim Crow. They don't understand the history of black Americans in this country. If they did, they would then understand white privilege better. So my suggestion is start teaching this stuff. It's deplorable, again, that word, that they do not learn history, period. I mean, people who are young, under 50, don't know who FDR was.
Because as insane as that moment was, the next one took things even further. As if the Holocaust remark wasn't enough, things spiraled again when the same host made a wild comparison that left viewers stunned. She actually compared the United States and Israel to terrorist organizations like Hamas and the Taliban, on live television, in front of millions. No hesitation, no facts. Just another reckless statement thrown out like it was no big deal. Now, it's one thing to be critical of countries or policies that's fair game. But to casually lump two democratic nations in with violent extremist groups responsible for mass murder, that's on another level. It wasn't just politically charged, it was dangerously misleading, and once again, the response was brutal. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. To him, it was the clearest proof that this wasn't about sparking thoughtful discussion, it was about stirring controversy, no matter how far from reality it drifted. He slammed the comparison for what it was: outrageous, lazy, and completely detached from historical or political truth.
What is she talking about? We all learned in school about slavery and Jim Crow and FDR. Honestly, it's the people who are teaching DEI crap in public schools who actually don't care whether the kids know who FDR is. Those kids don't know the first thing about history, but they know that people are victimized.
But here's the most frustrating part. There were no real consequences, no retraction, no accountability, just more of the same smug attitude and empty justifications. And that's what made it worse. Not just the ignorance itself, but how easily it was brushed off, as if saying something completely false and harmful was just another day on The View. And yet, she wasn't alone in this circus of chaos, because while she might grab the headlines, there's more than one voice adding fuel to the fire.
She said, I grew up in a world where a woman who looks like me with my kind of skin and my kind of hair was never considered beautiful. So, do her words resonate with you at all?
Because you're a black person? That's that,
It's not just her. The View has become a full-blown competition of who can say the most outrageous thing on air. And while one host keeps making headlines, the others aren't exactly sitting quietly in the background. In fact, there are moments when it feels like they're all trying to outdo each other in a race to the bottom. He's called the show a human repository of stupidity. And honestly, it's hard to argue when you watch the clips.
the first, I mean, honestly, that quote is also rather silly. I mean, it looks like this happened maybe 2 years ago, and this woman appears to be like 20. I love that Joy Behar's like, speak for the black people, black lady. Woo, there's so much racism among the white liberals at The View. It's really fun to watch.
Day after day, these women go on live television and say things that are either totally false, wildly offensive, or both. And the scariest part? Nobody stops them. They laugh. They nod. They pretend it all makes sense. There have even been moments when a co-host looks like she's about to push back, like maybe, just maybe, she realizes how insane the conversation has gotten, but then she stops, bites her tongue. Because challenging the group, that's a risk. One wrong step and she might be the next one getting called out or pushed off the table. It's this culture of fake agreement that really drives the point home. They don't debate, they don't challenge, they echo. And for someone watching from the outside, it feels like a never-ending loop of recycled talking points and self-congratulating nonsense.
Do any of you men have any eggs or the possibility of carrying a fetus? How dare you talk about what a fetus wants? You have no idea. I'm fine if you disagree with abortion. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, you do.
My problem comes when you tell me what I need to do with my doctor and my family. How dare you?
How dare you?
How dare you?
It's not just bad television, it's a masterclass in how not to have a conversation, and the frustration keeps building. The more you watch, the clearer it becomes. This isn't just about opinions. It's about a complete lack of accountability. One moment, someone's rewriting history. The next, they're comparing democratic nations to terrorists. And nobody blinks. Nobody steps in. And that's exactly what pushes critics over the edge. At one point, he couldn't hold it in any longer. He flat out asked, "How is this woman still allowed on television? How has she not been pulled off air after repeatedly proving she doesn't know what she's talking about?" One specific moment pushed him over when she was questioned about that ridiculous comparison between the US, Israel, and terrorist groups. Instead of backing down, she doubled down. No apology. No clarity, just more of the same smug certainty. He watched in disbelief as she delivered another tone-deaf rant, full of buzzwords and shallow moral grandstanding. And behind the scenes, crickets. Nobody from the network stepped in. No producers, no fact-checkers, no one.
Okay, so I have a few questions many questions on this, as it turns out. First, transphobia. Massive transphobia. If you don't have eggs, you can't. Are you saying that some women can't be men and some men can't be women? Are you saying that unless you have eggs, you're not a woman? Is that what you're saying, Whoopi Goldberg? Also, if that is the new standard, how about women who are postmenopausal? Whoopi Goldberg? Can they have opinions on? I mean, you can't have a baby right now, I assume. How old is Whoopi Goldberg? She's in her 60s.
To him, it proved everything he'd been saying for years, that The View isn't about truth, it's about performance. Facts don't matter. Accuracy doesn't matter. As long as it stirs controversy, gets attention, and fits a certain political slant, they'll let it fly. And when you think it can't possibly get worse, when you think the bar can't drop any lower, they somehow find a way to dig even deeper. What really makes this whole thing feel like a twisted joke is how the show's own cast members react to each other. Even when one of them says something completely off the rails, the others sit there nodding, smiling, or pretending like it makes sense. It's like they've created this little echo chamber where reality takes a back seat and nobody dares challenge the queen bees of bad takes. He points out how ridiculous it is to watch someone say something absolutely insane, then see the rest of the table just go along with it. Not because they agree, but because stepping out of line could get them in trouble. It's like a daily performance, where even the smarter ones have to play dumb to keep their seats. And it's not subtle. You can see the awkward smiles, the fake laughter, the eyes darting around the table. They know when someone's gone too far, but they pretend not to.
Also, I noticed another thing. I can have an opinion on what a fetus would think, because I was once a fetus. In fact, spoiler alert, all of us were once fetus. Every single one of us. I know, this is crazy. And you know what I can pretty well guarantee? Fetuses don't like being stabbed in the face and sucked into a sink.
That fake unity is what makes the whole thing even more bizarre. Like a twisted game of don't get canceled, where truth is optional and loyalty means silence. He jokes that anyone on The View showing even a hint of common sense is treated like a threat, like they're breaking some unspoken rule of idiocy. Because if you're not on board with the narrative, you're the problem. And at this point, he says, the average IQ on that stage could probably be counted on one hand. And just when you think the show can't get any more out of touch, it takes another wild turn. According to him, The View isn't just about clueless comment sites, about pushing the most divisive narratives on live TV while pretending to be champions of unity and equality. He calls it a full-blown ritual at this point. Day after day, they either say something totally absurd or throw gasoline on every hot-button issue they can find. Race, gender, politics, nothing's off limits. But instead of bringing people together, the show just keeps slicing the audience into pieces. The real kicker? While they preach about fairness and equality, they're constantly throwing out takes that are anything but. They frame themselves as progressive heroes, but half the time, they're contradicting the very values they claim to stand for. And nobody calls them on it. They sit on that stage, delivering one-sided takes with zero pushback, and then act like they're the moral voice of the nation. It's that two-faced approach that sets him off the most. On the surface, they act like they care, but underneath, it's just outrage theater. Performative politics. And it's working because people keep watching, talking, reacting, but instead of using that spotlight to educate or inform, they turn it into a circus. And at the center of it, the same voices, spinning the same stories, episode after episode. Now, while one host might steal the spotlight with her constant misfires, there's another co-host who's right behind her, ready to say something just as jaw-dropping. Enter Joy Behar. If there's one person who can compete for the crown of outrageous takes, it's her. He couldn't help but laugh at the irony. Joy tries so hard to present herself as the ally, the voice of support for racial minorities. But the harder she tries, the more cringe it becomes. In one clip, she was so desperate to defend Black Americans that she ended up making a statement so out of touch, so wildly racist in its own twisted way, it left people speechless. He called it exactly what it was: stupidity dressed up as activism. It's like she's on a mission to say something woke, but every time she opens her mouth, she exposes how little she actually understands the issues she's speaking on. Her comments don't just miss the mark, they crash into the wall, explode, and set everything around them on fire. And it doesn't stop there. She's been called out online over and over again. Social media erupts every time she speaks, yet she keeps going like nothing ever happened. It's like she's wearing blinders, convinced she's doing something noble, while digging herself deeper with every sentence. He even joked that with just a few more of these brain-melting takes, she might actually overtake the show's queen of chaos. And somehow, that's not even the craziest part. Because just when you think you've heard it all, there comes another moment so wildly off base, it makes the previous disasters look tame. This time, the spotlight swung back to the show's main controversy magnet when she decided to unleash a furious rant about men and their opinions on pregnancy and fetuses. She went on this tirade about how men shouldn't have any say in what happens to a fetus, as if the topic was that simple. But then, it took an even weirder twist. According to her logic, only women should speak on the issue, but somehow she forgot that even her own political camp has changed the rules. By those same modern standards, what she said could be labeled transphobic. And not just that, some even saw it as ageist. The irony? She's been part of the same woke movement that calls people out for saying far less. Yet here she was, confidently declaring something that would have had anyone else trending for all the wrong reasons. He couldn't help but point out how her own logic came full circle and started eating itself. He broke it down with brutal precision, saying that by her own party's rules, she just canceled herself. It was such a mess, he almost didn't need to say anything. The contradictions screamed louder than anything else. And yet, there she sat, the wise elder of the show, somehow still making the most clueless remarks of them all. But nothing could prepare anyone for the final punchline of this whole circus. By the time it reached this point, it was clear this wasn't just about one or two bad takes. This was a never-ending stream of chaos, wrapped in daytime television. And the final blow? The idea that if he ever actually got invited to sit at The View's infamous table, it would be total annihilation. He didn't just imagine I've hoped for it, because if there's one thing he's made clear, it's that the nonsense wouldn't survive 5 minutes with someone actually willing to call it out, live and unfiltered. He's been watching this circus long enough to know where the weak spots are, and if that moment ever came, he'd rip through every contradiction, every fake fact, every fake laugh and leave nothing standing. And the truth is, a lot of viewers want the same thing. People are tired of watching a show that pretends to be a serious discussion platform, but turns into a shouting match of misinformation and one-sided politics. They want someone to walk in and say what everyone's been thinking, that this isn't journalism, it's just noise. He sees it for what it is, an easy target, a goldmine of unchallenged opinions and viral disaster clips. And if the day ever comes when he steps onto that set, it won't be a conversation, it'll be a takedown. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. Also, drop your thoughts in the comments. See you on the next one.